Salve omnes, this is Amelia, also known as TheMartianGeek. And no, I'm not doing an LP of Mega Man 2 again, but I did want to share a few interesting things I learned last night about Morph Moth and his weapon. Now, mind you, if you haven't played Mega Man X2 before, most of this video will probably not make much sense to you. You won't know what I'm talking about, so fair warning. Now, currently I have all 8 heart tanks, all the sub-tanks, and all of the armor enhancements, but none of the weapons, as you can see. Now, obviously, I got a password that would not be achievable through normal gameplay, because you need some of the weapons to get some of the items. But anyway, let's go check out Morph Moth, shall we? Okay, so here we are in the boss corridor of Morph Moth's stage. If you fought Morph Moth before, you'll know that he's one of the very few Mavericks, I don't know of any others off the top of my head, that actually have 2 forms. There's this first form, kind of a cocoon sort of deal, and then he has a second form where, normally, after you get him down to about 1/3 of his health, he will transform into his full moth form. In this first form, he has 3 attacks. He swings back and forth and flings junk at you, and then he spins along the ground and flings junk like that. And then he does this, where he sucks the junk toward himself in a spiral, and during this 3rd attack, he actually gets slightly bigger, gradually. You might notice that he's just very slightly larger than he started out. So, 2 things I was wondering here, kind of correlated. First of all, does he have a maximum size? Is there a certain point where he just will not get any bigger than he already is? Whoa. And second, is it possible to delay holdout so long that like, what happens if you never get him down to 1/3 of his health and he doesn't transform? Like, if you just keep not shooting him like I'm doing, as you can see, he's a bit bigger than he started out. And of course, the bigger he gets, the harder he gets to dash jump over. So normally you don't want to hold out this long, you want to defeat his first form as quickly as possible. That's why I got all the upgrades and stuff, because I want to not have as much of a chance of him killing me before I get to show off what I want to see. Even more? Yeah, it gets to a point where it's all but impossible to dash jump over him. Oh yeah, okay, here he goes, maximum size. That's as big as he's ever going to get. Now, if he actually reaches maximum size, he will transform without being brought down to 1/3 of his health. See? Full health bar, yet he's already in his second form. I also found out from the same video that showed me that he got bigger, that apparently his second form was a joke if you know how to deal with him, because all you have to do to avoid his silk is stand at one edge of the screen, and his laser, well, just get out of the way of it. So yeah, now if I had the speed burner, I could just kick this guy's butt royally, but no point in showing that off. Rather interesting, that. But anyway, now what happens after we beat him and get his weapon, you might be wondering. Alright, so we've beaten Morph Moth, and now we have his weapon, the Silk Shot, and one other weapon, because you need to have defeated at least 2 bosses for this to work. Just gonna fast forward past the intro, boss intro. Okay, now what the Silk Shot does is it shoots out a ball of, sort of cluster of debris in a kind of arc. If you charge it up, well, you attract some debris toward you and it shoots out a bigger ball. Now mind you, what the debris looks like actually varies depending on the stage you're in. Right now we're in Wheelgator's stage, so we get a hunk of scrap metal, essentially. But if you're in, for example, Bubble Crab stage, you'll get a chunk of rocks instead. Crystal Snail stage, you get a hunk of crystal. But there's one thing I didn't realize about the different forms of it, which will come up in just a minute here. Okay, here we are in Flame Stag stage, right before the X-Hunter boss door. That'll be important in a minute. Now, remember how I said the Silk Shot has different forms depending on which stage you're in? Well, in Flame Stag stage, it's rocks, just like in Bubble Crabs. But apparently there isn't a unique form for every stage. There are only 4 different ones in the game. You either shoot scrap metal, rocks, crystals, or leaves. But what I didn't realize is that apparently they behave slightly differently. So you can see the rocks actually bounce on the ground. The scrap metal chunks didn't do that in the Gator stage. I don't think the charged version of this behaves much differently, if any. But more importantly about this, each of the 3 X-Hunters actually has a weakness to one of the alternate forms of the Silk Shot. And this is Agile, and in his case, it's the rocks that he's weak to. And in fact, they seem to do more damage than his supposed weakness, which would be the Magnet Mine. See, 3 damage. If I remember correctly, the Magnet Mine only does 2, but I can't remember, it might be 3. Now if you charge it up, 5 damage. Yeah, not exactly my best fight with Agile. I'm not really trying to be elegant here, but yeah. Yeah, if you hit him with some charged Silk Shots, it can really hurt. So anyway, on to the next X-Hunter, and the next form of the Silk Shot. Okay, time for Crystal Snail stage. Now here you get a kind of a chunk of crystal. My favorite one, that. But I don't know if it actually has any special movement properties, but we're fighting Surges here. He's weak to the crystals. Hello, Surges. I didn't miss you. Yeah, whatever. I can't allow you to stop the unification. Well, I'm gonna shoot you in the face with crystals. Mind you, even with this, Surges is still a pain. Yeah, there's supposed to be a shield up, but I'm using a different emulator from what I normally have, so it doesn't display certain effects correctly. Yeah, 3 damage once again. I can't tell if the shield's up or not. Is it inaccurate emulation? Come on, do another somersault. Just gonna stand there all day? Okay, yeah. 5 damage. Surges is a pain even when you can do 5 units of damage to him in one shot. See? Did I mention I don't like fighting Surges? But hey, this makes him easier, if you want to use it. You've merely delayed the inevitable, blah 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 blah. Whatever. And I don't care what you have to say, because that's 2 X-Hunters down, and now it's time for the 3rd, and the other alternate form of Silk Shot. Okay, for the last X-Hunter and last form of the Silk Shot, we'll be fighting Violin in Wire Sponge's stage. If you use it in his stage, you get leaves. They just kind of go upward and then disappear. I've actually never seen this form before until now. I never thought to use the Silk Shot in Wire Sponge's stage, I guess, and the leaves seem to disappear when they hit a wall. I'm not really sure on that, that's weird. But anyway, time to fight Violin. Yeah, he's gonna crush us like a tin can. I'm gonna throw leaves at him. You can take some lessons from Airman here, Violin. Weak to leaves. Once again, 3 damage uncharged, 5 charged. The trajectory of the leaves is kind of weird, and kind of hard to get used to. But anyway, yeah. Quickest I've ever beaten him. So it is rather interesting that they did that. Like I said, I didn't realize it was only 4 different forms, but the Silk Shot is certainly a very unique weapon. It seems useless at first, I have to admit, and maybe it kinda is, but I don't know. Can do some fun things with it, as you can see. Well, there you have it. Morph Moth. A weird, unique, and strangely interesting boss with a weird, unique, and strangely interesting weapon. The thing is, though, those 2 scenarios I just showed, well, neither of them are really all that likely to occur during normal gameplay. Firstly, you really don't want to give Morph Moth the chance to get to maximum size. I mean, you saw what it's like battling him. If you're fighting him normally, that third attack becomes harder and harder to dodge the bigger he gets. So chances are, if you are fighting him normally, well, you're either going to die, or you'll do enough damage to him that he'll change into his second form just from getting to a certain point of health, and you'll never see him at maximum size. I mean, about the only way for you to see his maximum size during normal gameplay would be if he really decided to spam that third attack and do that a whole lot. And get a lot bigger in a short amount of time. And as far as his weapon goes, well, chances are if you're thinking of Mega Man X2 weapons, and I'm sure you are, I mean, I lie awake nights thinking about Mega Man X2 weapons, but chances are the Silk Shot won't be near the top of the list. I mean, how many things do you actually use that? How many times do you actually use that in a normal game? You probably use the Silk Shot for partially disarming Magna Centipede if you're not going Buster only. Because, hey, who doesn't like chopping off somebody's butt by shooting junk at them? And you might have used it for farming power-ups by going to one of those special rooms and charging it up. But beyond that, I don't know, the Silk Shot just doesn't seem to get that much use, at least when I'm playing the game, and the same could probably be said for most people. And as I said, well, I didn't even know what the Silk Shot looked like in Wire Sponge's stage. I never thought of using it there, as far as I know. And the odds of actually being able to use and take advantage of the X-Hunter's weaknesses to it, well, pretty slim. I mean, you're combining the unlikelihood of the right X-Hunter being in the right stage, or in Agile's case, one of two stages, with the unlikelihood of actually having the Silk Shot before that point happens. And, like, who really does Morph Moth stage early on in the game? I mean, he's like one of the last robots I usually do. Last bosses. And, like I said, I can't speak for everybody, but it's probably not likely that most other people do him early on either, so... Now, that might not be all the Silk Shot can do. I've heard some people say, or at least I saw on one website, that apparently it does different amounts of damage to Wire Sponge, depending on whether you're fighting him in his stage or in the fortress. The same might be true for other bosses, I don't know. I didn't test it. Nor did I test what it does to every boss in every stage. That would be 24 different times where I'd have to go to the stage, get to the X-Hunter door, and try it, and I don't really have the patience for that. It is interesting, though. I mean, I never knew this stuff before last night. I just happened to find it somewhere on the internet, and thought, that's kind of cool, let's try it out. Huh, it actually works. At least that's the case for the weapon. As far as finding out what Morph Moth's maximum size is, I kind of did that on my own, after finding out that he got bigger, and then just one day, while playing Mega Man X2 normally, wondering what would happen if you just let him keep getting bigger. So, that's all, I guess. I mean, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope it was interesting, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time with whatever project I decide to do, or continue.